And you can see right there, Steffi, yes, we will get it. Right now, LSU not in the tournament, according to Charlie Cream. Charlie will join us after the first quarter to go into details as to what's at stake here today. The only thing you can control, Tamika Catchings, is your effort and your energy, and we expect to see it all on the line here in this 8-9 matchup. LSU in white, Mississippi State wins the tip, and we're underway, game 1 of 4 in Greenville. So Jackson in the starting lineup, did not start in the regular season finale. A loss to Mizzou in Starkville.
And Eric, I think this is going to be one of those games for both teams. LSU doing a great job on their defense. This is the key of the game. Play solid defense and force Mississippi State to take an outside shot, which you just saw with Kia Jackson.
Kayla Pointer comes in for the rebound. First team all-conference selection. All defensive team selection as well. The heart and soul of this LSU team. It is a veteran group. There are 4 seniors in the starting 5. And on the drive, one of those seniors, Awatrazi, off the mark. For Mississippi State, Rakia Carter in the starting 5. An easy path to the basket. She got hit in the face and a chance for a 3-point play, and Jackson's down.
Well, what a great drive by Rakia Jackson. She's so good in the open floor and being able to get to the basket.
So Jackson had that path to the basket. It looked like she got hit in the face. Nikki McCray-Penson showing some of that elite athleticism. She was the first one down there, and really quickly as Rakia seems to be okay. Maybe it was across the bridge of the nose.
Well, we saw this yesterday in the Florida game, and it seems like players are going hard, but when you know what's at stake, you actually see she got swiped across the face.
Yep.
But it's good to see her up and walking.
That was Raquel Spencer who took the swipe. So the officials will go to the monitor to see if more than a common foul will be assessed here as Jackson gets help to the sideline. In our game yesterday, honestly, Scott Grayson for Auburn diving on the floor for a loose ball. She would get the assist, but she took a shot above the eye and had to leave the game for a while. So no upgrade on the foul. It is a common foul.
And one of the things that you appreciate is that you look at a lot of these players in the concussion protocol and just a lot of different things. So it's important. She was holding her head a little bit, pull her out of the game, check her out, and make sure that she's good to get back in.
So Sydney Cooks goes to the free throw line to finish off the 3-point play with Jackson on the bench. Tiara Young will bring it across half court. And Young draws the contact from Jessica Carter, who picks up her first foul. So Young will shoot a couple. Well, the matchup of Nickies from Tennessee here today, Tamika Catchings. A couple of former Lady Vols who got to Knoxville at the same time, played together for 3 years. Now head coaches going against each other here in the SEC tournament. The first year for Nikki McCray-Penson as Mississippi State's head coach. She was the Old Dominion head coach for the last 3 seasons, the Conference USA Coach of the Year a year ago.
Well, it's been interesting just to watch Nikki McCray-Penson as she's come into this season, and you see both Nickies head-to-head. I like that coming into Tennessee at the same time, now coaching against each other. And I think both teams, when we had a chance to talk to the coaches, they know what's at stake. They both talked about just how important 40 minutes, not just 30, not 35, but how important 40 minutes of consistent defense was important.
Madison Hayes, a freshman from Chattanooga, Tennessee, having an outstanding first year in Starkville, member of the all-freshman team in the SEC, knocks down the 3-pointer for the Bulldogs.
And I've loved watching Madison Hayes this season. She came out strong straight from the beginning of the SEC play, and she has not stopped.
Spencer outside. Can't answer with the 3. Trazi fighting for the rebound, and it's ripped away by Cooks. Cooks the entry to Carter. Can't get the roll, and Hayes came in and got called for the foul. Well, Nikki Caldwell Fargus pointed out, I got to keep my Nikki straight here. You'll help me with that. When they got to Tennessee, one was East Tennessee, one was West Tennessee. They had known each other as kids playing youth basketball and had to put away their East versus West rivalry to come together in Knoxville. And now part of that Pat Summitt coaching tree, as that's thrown into the backcourt and the turnover for LSU.
Yeah, that's always interesting when you look at just certain matchups on the floor, but when you look at the matchups of the coaches, you can only imagine. And I'm glad that I wasn't there when they were playing, because I can only imagine the arguments, the fight, the blood. I mean, just all of that in practice. And the one thing Coach Summitt always preaches, we're going to practice harder than we play in the games, and that made the games easier because of the way we practice. So interesting to see both teams down, but great to see Rickea Jackson back in the game.
She gets a touch here after being out for just a moment or two. This is what Jackson can do, but lost her footing as she was driving down the lane, limping just a bit as she comes up the court. Pointer. And an offensive foul called on LSU. So Trazi picks up the personal foul, and Jackson does seem to be limping, Tamika.
Yeah, it looks like when she went on that drive just a second ago, might have stepped on somebody's foot or stepped the wrong way. But once again, staying on the court when you know what this team, what the game needs and what this team needs.
Carter. Defended by Afua, and Carter gets the two.
Yeah, I love seeing Jessica Carter work down low, and I'm sure that was one of the big game plan. Coach McCray Penson said last night on the phone call, she said, look, I need Jessica Carter and Rickea Jackson to step up big for the team. Jessica Carter, when they get her going down low, everybody in every position flows too.
Pointer with a strong take, defended well by Matharu, but got her first points of the game.
Yeah, guys, I watched the training staff take a look at Rickea Jackson, putting her through a bunch of different tests, checking her head and her arms, everything. So she was cleared and good to go through the coaching staff, but obviously out there limping, something that I'll keep an eye on for you guys.
All right, Steffi, thank you very much. A turnover for Mississippi State as Spencer gets the steal. Pointer for Young. Rebound for Matharu.
That's something Taylor Pointer does so well. She gets everybody else involved in the offense, but sometimes I feel like the times when the team needs her to step up and they need her to take the shot, she's still learning the flow. She said this year it's been a little bit different, not being able to have the freshmen, and like every other team with the COVID protocol, especially early on, the time you would spend getting to know your team, you're still learning, and it's now postseason play.
Pointer helped up. She's going to shake it out a little bit.
Yeah, Matharu gets called for this foul. Taylor Pointer trying to go around.
Shot clock was down to 1 when it was launched by Pointer. Hayes with the push.
You know, I think that's going to be really important for Mississippi State. What can you do to force LSU to use some of the clock? But LSU, that's kind of their MO. They like to slow things down on defense, the way they play, and on offense, the way they like to move the ball around.
Well, LSU turns teams over at a rate of 20 a game, but they're having trouble with turnovers here in the first quarter.
Well, this kind of goes to what I said earlier, just the first quarter jitters. You come, you're playing in a new environment. You know what the SEC tournament is about. This is something we talk about all conference play, right? You want to get to the tournament, it's 0-0. Everything's on the line every single game, and I'm sure that both teams coming out, it's like, it takes a minute to get into the flow.
So the foul is called on Young. That will be 2 on Young. So an early trip to the bench for the sophomore from Shreveport. Last game for LSU was against Mississippi State. It was last Thursday. Mississippi State won at 68-59. LSU did not play on Sunday. They would have faced Vanderbilt. That was one of 2 SEC games that LSU lost. Vandy and Kentucky was the other one. Kentucky was due to weather. And Mississippi State will bring some pressure into the backcourt.
Well, Maya Taylor just knocked down that free throw, and that's another young lady that we need to watch for today. It's fun talking to her on the floor or on the phone the other day. Just you could tell the excitement that she had, and she talked just about the coaching change and just the team in general. But it's really fun, like you could see in her face how happy she was about this year. And of course, they've had highs and lows and a lot of different things going on, but you could sense the energy that she had.
Good job by Afua to get back after the miss, but then a foul called on LSU. Get us to our first media timeout. When we come back, so many great moments this year. We'll take a look at just some of them next.
Tennessee defeats a top 5 team.
Tough loss for the Aggies, first one of the year.
16 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 blocks. Ranked win for this Georgia team, and they get it over number 19 Arkansas.
Nixon delivers for the Aggies. 25 of those points came in the fourth quarter and in overtime.
They win in Knoxville for the first time since 1996.
Season sweep of the Lady Vols. She came out and played on a whole nother level.
Chelsea Dungy, that Arkansas win over UConn and Fayetteville, one of the top moments of many moments. Going back to what you mentioned right at the top of our telecast, just the gratitude to see those highlights from this year when there was so much unknown going into the season, so many moments during the season where teams had to pause, teams had to reschedule games. But here we are in Greenville for the championship, in person, I might add. So it's been a long, strange trip for us all season long. One moment from the year that stands out from LSU was certainly this game in Baton Rouge against Texas A&M. LSU beat Texas A&M in overtime. It was the 3rd straight win for the Tigers against the Aggies in the series. And for our purposes this year, that's the only time Texas A&M lost all year, and it happened against LSU.
Well, I tell you what, there's just been a lot of high moments and big moments. But when you go back and you look at that game, it proved any night, every given game, you have to be ready. You got to be focused. And A&M, the only loss this year, SEC Conference, LSU being able to pull off the win. And I think they go back to that. You keep thinking about what was the thing that got you through that. And Nikki Fargas, as she talked about her team, she knows she's in a position, she knows she has a great team that can get over the hump and they can win big games.
Yeah, guys, and keep in mind the second time around that they played, Nikki Fargas didn't coach that game, so I'm really curious what our bracketologist Charlie Cream will say if that goes into whether or not it affects an NCAA tournament berth. So hopefully he can spell that out for us.
Steffi with a little foreshadowing.
I'm trying to tease here.
Charlie Cream is listening in right now, so I'm sure he's nodding along. Yes, I'll be ready to answer that one. That's one of the questions we'll bring up with Charlie as we head into the second quarter here, just to really bring into as sharp a focus as you can here in early March what the tournament field looks like. Jalen Cherry into the game, can't get that one to drop. And here comes Mississippi State. Jemiah Mingo Young. Back for Taylor.
Well, I think when you start looking at all the teams that we have in the SEC that are looking at an NCAA berth, I mean, it's really important. The conference play, definitely, when you get to tournaments, the more games you win, the more your chances go up. And so I think that's a big thing for both teams today.
Sarah Shamatzi into the game for LSU. She gets the steal. Ryan Payne in as well for the Tigers, as Pointer defended now by Taylor. This will be the challenge for Pointer today, right, Tamika? Good find inside for Afua, who gets the 2, because Mississippi State has really strong, aggressive, good defending guards, and they can throw those guards in waves at Pointer here today.
Well, I think right now you just saw the steal. One thing that Mississippi State, they got to take care of the ball. They got to make sure the passes that they're delivering, shorten up the passes and make sure it's a solid pass. LSU, they're known for turning the teams over. You've got to take care of the ball when you're going against them.
Wow, Shamatsi, the junior from France who played at South Plains College, steps back and takes a deep 3, get her first SEC tournament points.
And she was way behind the line. She got that shot up.
Cooks sticks with it. Spin inside, and a foul is called on Zaria Wiggins.
Well, I love watching these teams, but you know, defense is my thing right now. And right there, Pointer getting the steal. Defense always leads to offense when you got more players on the break, and it was just a great job. And then, of course, Shamatsu stepped back way behind the three-point line, able to knock it down.
Well, it's interesting when we talk to Caleb Pointer about this LSU defense. As you mentioned, Tamika, this is a defense-first team. They want to turn you over, and you know, Kayla is pretty funny. She said sometimes, I don't know what defense we're in. And she's the one who's in charge of getting it all organized. But the one thing you can control, like we said, is your effort. And if I don't know what it is, we'll just play hard until we get set and figure out what we're doing on defense right now. You see her offensive numbers, and that steals per game number is tied for 3rd in the SEC.
Well, it's funny. Sometimes you can see them out there, and as long as you were talking, as long as your energy was high, you were talking and you were moving your feet, you could get any steal, you could do anything. And she said, well, I don't know if we're in the 3 or 4 and 5, all the different defensive schemes that they have. But at the end of the day, when you got the energy and players are just moving and you're playing together, it doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter, but in this set, sometimes it doesn't.
You can see at the bottom of the screen as Matharu on the drive can't get it. Good play by Payne to tip it, and Pointer's the one up ahead, and a great response by LSU, and a timeout called by Mississippi State.
Great drive, great lookout. LSU, when they're out on the run, that transition game, it's hard to stop. But Mississippi State, and this is something that we talked about with Coach Nikki, when we talked to her the other day, yeah, she said, you know, we have got to do a good job on transition defense. She wasn't really concerned about offense. She was concerned about defense, and you see it right there.
And LSU, what they need to do is turn defense and stops into offense.
Yeah, you see it right there. LSU getting out on the break. Pointer. Normally she's the one that's passing the ball, but not today. And I love the energy by Payne.
Hey, Tamika, when we were talking to Nikki McCray, and I asked her 3 things that she had to see from her team coming into Greenville, and she said playing with effort and energy, they had to rebound, and also playing unselfish basketball. Based on those 3 things, what have you seen from Mississippi State so far in this first quarter?
Well, I think when they get settled, Steffi, that they look really good. You saw earlier Jessica Carter getting a post up down low. The floor was spaced. Everybody was in their position. But when you try to go one-on-one, that's when you get yourself in trouble because players don't know where to go and where to adjust. You get outside of the flow, you get outside of the offense, it makes it harder for all of them. So I think for Mississippi State, settle down, get in your position. First off, you got to get past LSU's full court press. Then when you get settled into your half court offense, space out, space the floor, get Jessica Carter going down low, get the ball down low, or Rakia Jackson on a drive within the flow of the offense.
Out of the Mississippi State timeout. They get it across half court. You know, one thing, too, you have to worry about for Mississippi State from their perspective is where's their confidence level and can they keep it at a high level? That's Taylor, who tries the 3 and a rebound for Afua. Their last game was a 20-point loss at home to Mizzou, 77-57. The Tigers never trailed. They led by 27 in the 4th. So Nikki McCray-Penson certainly was hoping they would find the team that had won 2 in a row, including a win against LSU before that Mizzou game, as Jackson's up to 6 points now.
Well, I think that's the best offense for Mississippi State. You get a rebound and a defensive rebound, and you take it into your offense and you go. Don't allow LSU to set up their press. It gives you a better chance to get those looks that you want.
Afua on the turnaround. Cherry gets on the floor and keeps it alive for the Tigers.
That's the great hustle play by Cherry.
Shamatzi. Shamatzi will try another 3, not this time, and Carter's got a rebound. Off to Hayes.
And that's a great offensive possession. The ball doesn't go in, but way to move the ball, find the open look. They get the offensive rebound, and now they get to set up again.
That's Jemiah Mingo-Young on the offensive glass. Hard worker for Mississippi State. Carter takes it outside with the shot clock winding down, and tracking it down is Payne for LSU, and the Tigers will hold for 1. Pointer calmly across half court with time winding down, and there is Mingo-Young with the clean block of Pointer, and they'll kind of take a look at each other. Mingo-Young had a look, and Pointer was looking right back. Well, we're sending the bracketology signal up to Charlie Cream. There he is. He'll join us next to detail what's at stake for the Bulldogs and Tigers. Game 1 of 4 in Greenville, the 8-9 matchup. LSU, Mississippi State. The winner would love to take on the regular season champs tomorrow, Texas A&M, and keep their NCAA tournament hopes in good standing. With that in mind, we bring in Charlie Cream, who's been analyzing, dissecting, interpreting, projecting what the field of 64 will look like for the NCAA tournament. Welcome, Charlie. Will not be the last time we hear from you, but the first question's a simple one. The 3 magic words. What's at stake here for these 2 teams?
Well, for Mississippi State, it's simply getting a win. They obviously haven't played very well down the stretch. That game on Sunday against Missouri was a little bit of a shock to the system. They're still in the field, but the Bulldogs just need a win to make sure that they're safe, because they've been sliding. Now for LSU, the Tigers need a win just to kind of stay in the conversation, in the mix. It's still not going to get them in the tournament. It's still a big uphill climb, but without a win today, you can really forget about it.
Well, Charlie, when we talked to Coach Fargus the other day, and she gave us the whole rundown of why LSU should be one of the NCAA contenders, but when you look at their strength of schedule, how does strength of schedule fit into teams being able to make it into the NCAA tournament?
Oh, it's very important. Obviously, it's something that the committee looked at and historically has always looked at. They will reference strength of schedule when they're trying to validate some of their decisions. But the bottom line is you have to win some games against that schedule too. And LSU's done that. They have 5 top 50 net wins, but an 8-12 overall record. Now, the NCAA has said losing records are okay this year, but that's 4 games below 500. This would still only make it 3 games below 500. And overall record is still something that the committee looks at too. We can't forget about that. So strength of schedule, yes, important. Overall record, how you're playing at the end of the season are also factors as well.
Charlie, some of the intangibles that we've never had to talk about before, like COVID, that impact. Nikki Fargas missed a couple of days on the bench, a couple of games on the bench for LSU. Will that be under consideration? And I think the LSU argument may be, well, we're the 8 seed, Mississippi State's the 9 seed. Why is Mississippi State ahead of us as we enter this game here today?
Well, that's always an interesting thing that coaches will point out, and I don't disagree with the the argument that they're trying to make with the seeding within their conference tournament. But this is a whole big picture type thing. It's not just what you did in your conference. Now, this year the non-conference stuff is a smaller piece of the pie for sure. But you can't ignore the fact that LSU lost 4 of their 5 non-conference games to start the year and really did not get out of the gates well. That's still part of this picture as well, and it's really why they're 4 games below 500. And the intangible factor is hard to put a finger on, obviously, because it's something you can't really measure, and it brings a lot of subjectivity into the mix. However, in a season like this, everybody's dealt with something. So whether it's a coach missing a couple of games, whether it's coming back from a long layoff and having to play games where you haven't really practiced, or players missing games, it's hard to really dissect, if you're the committee or if you're myself, what factors more than that. So I don't think you can. I don't think this year a lot of that stuff is really going to come into play. I think it's going to be really about who'd you play, where'd you play them, did you win, what's your record, what's your strength of schedule, how are you playing down the stretch, and the little nuances of personnel and the layoffs and things can't be taken too deeply into consideration, because how do you compare all of those things that are so subjective?
Well, LSU doing what they can to play their way into the conversation going forward as they're up by 3. Charlie, I know you're looking at this day in the SEC very critically, because this may be the most impactful day on some teams trying to hold out hope for getting into the tournament, because you've got Ole Miss just on the outside. You've got Mizzou as a team that could play their way in, and you got teams like Alabama and Arkansas look like they're in the tournament firmly, certainly, but could really help themselves move up in the seeding.
Yeah, teams like Ole Miss and Missouri in particular I'm watching. LSU, obviously, in this game as well. Not discounting Mississippi State's chances of making the tournament, and if they lose today, that those could be in jeopardy as well. But those are the teams really to focus on, because they absolutely have to win today. Without a win, there's really nothing else to discuss, because they can't play themselves any more closer to the field. They have no more games left. So this is, you're right, Eric, a critical day for those teams. And it's not the end of the line. Winning today doesn't guarantee anything, but it allows them the opportunity to continue to play and then get to play another team who's definitely a tournament team, a high-ranked team, and a quality win that will definitely make the committee take notice.
All right, Charlie, so the big takeaway for this game, LSU needs to win, in your opinion, to keep their NCAA tournament hopes alive. If they lose, they're not going to be in the tournament, and Mississippi State is in better standing right now, that even with a loss, they may slide down to 10, but a win would go a long way for them. So that's the bottom line. Don't go anywhere, because we may send up the Charlie Cream signal again here, because that's what you do this time of year. Just hydrate and eat and stay healthy for us, okay? Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Absolutely. Thanks.
It's quite interesting when you hear him talk just about different things, and for the common person, not the one that's watching and then that's all in. Like, I know Eric over here, guys. Eric has a whole script. He does his own standings. He has his own bracket already filled out. But that's Eric over here. But I think it's really important as fans and people that are watching the game, just to when you start to understand what goes behind. Caleb Pointer goes in and not able to get that to fall, but what goes behind putting together the bracket and putting the field together. I mean, it's really interesting.
2-on-1 back the other way, with C getting fouled by Mingo Young, and she'll go to the free throw line to shoot a couple. Just to be clear, I'm an amateur bracketologist. I did not go to bracketology school like Charlie. I don't have my degree, so I only play one on TV. Charlie's the one who knows all the details, what it is like in that room. I think the curious thing is, well, how does the net ranking factor in, and how is the subjective piece? Nikki Fargas is pretty adamant. Like, I missed 2 games. My team was impacted. They needed me. My coaching staff did a great job, but that disrupted us. And so many teams across the country, Tamika, can say, well, we were without that player, but we didn't announce it because they were in contact tracing. Behind the scenes, like, what will be factored in? Will it all just go into one big pot, and then we kind of stir it up and figure out, well, this team is going here, this team's going there, and I'm sorry, but you weren't impacted by COVID? I don't know. I mean, that is a curious thing with how it's all going to be handled, and we'll find out for sure come March 15th.
Well, C knocked down both of her free throws, and I would definitely agree. the end of the day, the end of the story, the storyline is win games.
That's right.
And give yourself a chance to get into the bracket.
Jackson comes up short. 3-point LSU lead.
Well, guys, I guess we don't really know, too, because in this first year, we're dealing with one, COVID, and two, a new ranking systems with the net, which puts a lot of value on where and who you play. And given the fact that there hasn't been any home court advantage this year, I think a lot of coaches have more questions, too, in that regard.
Well, Shanati Steffi has stepped up here in this opening game for LSU in the SEC tournament. She came in averaging 2.5 points a game. She is a shooter, and she's knocked down a couple of threes, and LSU's on top by 6. Jackson gets 2 back.
Great drive by Lakia Jackson. That's what she does so well around the basket. But to go back to Shimatsu, both of her shots that she's taken, or both of the three-pointers, are well behind the three-point line, which means you got to guard her a little bit further out than you would normally.
Ooh, tough take for LSU's Payne. I will say this right now for the Tigers. They are getting a great contribution from their bench so far against Mississippi State.
Well, their bench right now is 17 points compared to Mississippi State 5 points, so that's a big difference.
And a whistle will get us to a timeout with 4:49 to go in the second quarter.
Well, I tell you what, the Tigers have gone on a run up by 6 right now, and you see Shimatsu for 3 with the knockdown. And of course, you know, Payne says, hey, I can't let you have it all on your own. Takes it down, knocks it in. Mississippi State down 21-27.
Anything I wanna do is true.
Coming up later on the SEC halftime report, plenty to get into. We'll talk to Texas A&M head coach Gary Blair and, of course, get into the first half of this game. What have you guys seen?
I love the bench play from LSU. They really stepped up and they put up big numbers.
Like what LSU has done offensively, the ball's going inside often in really good spots there.
Plenty to discuss in just a few, guys.
All right, the A-team working hard in the studio. The long day's journey in tonight. 4 games for them. We'll check in with you at halftime as we take a look at the bracket. Talk about long day's journey. We start with this LSU-Mississippi State matchup, but then it's Kentucky and Florida. Game 2 for us. And then tonight, Arkansas will begin SEC tournament play, taking on a much improved Ole Miss team, coming off that big win against Kentucky. And then Alabama and Mizzou. Well, Alabama and Mizzou will be the first game, right? You can step in and correct me at any time.
Anytime, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Anytime. I can use the assist here, obviously.
I got you.
The first game is Alabama and Mizzou at 6 o'clock, and then Missouri, what am I talking about? Arkansas, Ole Miss. Tamika, tell me about the strength of the SEC.
Hey, we got 18 projected in the NCAA tournament, and you go back to Charlie Cream and just how good this SEC conference play is. 6 in the top 16 of NCAA reveal, and of course we got 2 projected. Number 1, Texas A&M, South Carolina. Both teams playing really, really well this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I really feel like this year, just looking at the NCAA big picture, there is not a clear number 1. Every team, even when you look at the SEC, our number 1 seeds have got knocked down, come back up, so it's going to be an interesting year.
Yeah, it's something that Gary Blair had talked about with us several weeks ago, and as you heard, he's going to be a guest at halftime, that there aren't any great teams in the top 10. They're number 2 in the country, not any great teams, and I think it's going to be a great NCAA tournament as a turnover out of the timeout on Mississippi State. Of course, no home court advantage as everyone goes to Texas, so that will even the playing field. I think we've seen the home court advantage certainly minimized this season with limited fans in some locations, no fans in other locations, so that home court advantage that so many teams, especially in the SEC with great turnout in so many venues, wasn't really a big advantage.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we keep talking about COVID, but it's affected everybody. It's affected every single school and every single program. So really what you've had to do is just learn how to play and generating energy, trying to find energy in stands, especially when there's no fans. That has been something that coaches have talked about. coaches have talked about just the travel, and we've seen, you know, Arkansas in particular, team traveling day of games to try to get in. So a lot of different concepts, a lot of things that have been tried for teams to get ready to play.
Foul on Wiggins, her second personal foul. And Trozzi had a half-hearted sales pitch to say it was off of Mississippi State, but you could just tell she wasn't comfortable going beyond saying it was definitely touched by Mississippi State. So Wiggins comes out with the 2 personals, 6 turnovers for each team.
Yeah, now Stina Fua and Kayla Pointer back in for LSU, but you know, Drea Carter said this a minute ago. I've been impressed by LSU's bench too. They've come in and they've produced. They've stepped up. They've knocked down shots. They're running the offense, playing hard. That's what you like to see.
Morris reverses it up. So 4 points for Morris. Down to a 4-point game. LSU patiently with Pointer. Dropped off to Trozzi. A Fua offensive rebound and a second chance here for LSU.
Austin Afua, Jemiah Morris working hard down low.
And a foul is going to be called on Cooks, which will send Payne to the free throw line.
That'll give Cooks her second foul as well.
Cooks with 2, Wiggins with 2.
Nice little drive. Yeah, Cook gets her on the arm. Payne to the free throw line.
Spencer with 2 and Young with 2 for LSU. And Ryan Payne, the junior, transferred in from TCU, playing in her 4th game after coming off shoulder surgery rehab, having an outstanding SEC tournament debut. Well, Saturday on the SEC Network, we've got a men's basketball doubleheader. You'll see LSU take on Mizzou at 3 Eastern time. Then Arkansas and Texas A&M cap things off at 5 Eastern. The Razorbacks picked up their 10th straight SEC victory. They've locked up the number 2 seed at next week's SEC tournament. Men's SEC basketball Saturday, 3 and 5 on the SEC Network. Well, Payne's a very interesting story. After coming off the shoulder surgery, this is game number 4 for her. Made her debut February 14th. And she has been a difference maker for LSU.
Well, it's great too when you look at teams and just, I mean, we've seen players coming back from COVID, and Charlie Cream touched a little bit on their players coming in, players going out, contact trace, I mean, a lot of different things. But coming in from shoulder surgery, back to a team, back in the game, especially in the SEC and regular season play. Now you got conference tournament play. Every single game matters, but I think for LSU, it gives them a different look. And she's come in, she's been aggressive, she hasn't backed down, and she's really taken it at this Mississippi State Bulldog team.
Matharu trying to work. Shot clock's down to 5. LSU keeping the defensive intensity up, and they get the stop, and look how the bench reacts.
I love it. I love it. Defense, and just see how LSU was just swarming all over. You try to come off a screen, Maya Taylor not able to get to the basket, and love when the bench gets engaged like they have.
Hey, the bench is involved on the court with the points. They're involved off the court, pumping up their teammates after getting the stop. Pointer, tough take, but what Kayla Pointer does is make tough things look easy sometimes.
She practiced this time and time again, and it was great talking to her. Just, you could tell she said, you know, I've reached the goals that I said. Jessica Carter answered back. And I know Mississippi State, they need to see more Carter. Seeing Rakia Jackson get into the basket. Carter's only sitting with 4 points and 2 for 5, but got to figure out a way to get her more touches.
Closing in on 90 seconds to go. Payne dribbled it off her foot into the hands of Matharu. Pointer coming back, all defensive team member, and you can see why. A Matharu frustration foul.
And that'll be Matharu's second foul as well. So you got a lot of Mississippi State Bulldog teams with fouls, but right here, Kayla Pointer taking it to the basket. Nobody getting in front, able to finish strong, but right here, Matharu and Pointer, all defensive team, that's what it takes to get the steals, to take it on.
Well, I know you played at an elite level for Tennessee on the defensive end. You just got to love the fact that Pointer used her speed to get in front of Matharu. Footwork, speed, and then let those magic hands do the work after that. Now, Matharu has been assessed a technical foul, so LSU is going to step to the free throw line here.
Yeah, this is when the emotions start becoming a part of the game. Mississippi State is only down by 6 right now. They have the pieces, they have the players to get them back in the game, and they've been through this situation. I think sometimes when you get in, Kayla Pointer, LSU, the excitement that they're showing, the bench, the reaction from the bench, that's been a big part of the game thus far, but there's a lot of game to be played.
So they haven't yet caught up, I don't believe, but Matharu should have 3 fouls now because she had the personal foul. Then if she got the technical, that should give her 3 fouls.
And
top of the screen as she's leaving the court, she says something to the official, and Cameron Inouye teed her up.
Can't let the emotion, cannot let the emotion get up into this game. I think, really I've been a part of a team that it may or may not have been assessed where I've gotten a technical foul. I try to keep myself under control during the games, right? But in those situations, it's really important as a team, and this is where you see kind of with the COVID effect, players being spaced out, coaches not wanting to huddle, but this would be the time you huddle up your team and you figure out, okay guys, let's pull it together and figure out what we need to do to work together to win this game.
So LSU gets 2 of the 4 free throw attempts. C will try from the outside. No. And Mingo Young with the hustle play, and Hayes is ahead of the field. Final minute, first half. LSU has outscored Mississippi State 20-12 in this quarter, but Mississippi State a chance to go on a little run here to try to turn the momentum before halftime. Knocked away by Payne.
He comes behind and knocks it out of bounds.
One person who's been quiet here, who's been maybe the most consistent player for Mississippi State in SEC play, is Maya Taylor, as Jackson gets it. Carter will try from outside again and knock it down from outside again. 6 points now for Carter.
Carter showing her aim, that 3-pointer, pulling out to the free throw line, excuse me.
Well, a couple of big hoops for Mississippi State as LSU had stretched it out to an 8-point lead. Pointer will go to work. 4 seconds between the game clock and the shot clock. Down to 4 for Pointer. Payne, they're not going to get a shot off. Took too long, and I think LSU lost track that they had a shot clock to deal with before that game clock.
Yeah, and I think trying to set the play, you got to go a little bit sooner. People are trying to get organized.
This could be big for Mississippi State. Well, Taylor will launch it from before half court, but still a couple of field goals at the end. Very helpful for the Bulldogs, but LSU dialing up the defense with the 6 steals, getting contributions from the bench, and LSU's got the lead at halftime. The A-team ready to go in the studio.
Yeah, guys, especially Leah Matharu. She had 19 in that game that they last time against LSU, but I think Mississippi State has done a better job rebounding. Remember, LSU had 18 offensive rebounds, just 3 so far in this game. Good start for Rickea Jackson.
As she fights it up, she's in the double figures now with 10. She's leading Mississippi State in scoring. Ryan Payne is the leading scorer for LSU. She has a career-high 12 points. 10 of those points came in the second quarter.
I think for LSU, definitely you're going to be looking for the bench to continue with their production, but like what Steffi just said, as far as Rakia Jackson getting a good start, that's a good look for Mississippi State. Getting Rakia to the basket, then of course Jessica Carter down low will be a big help.
Answer back by Tiara Young. She's got 4. Pointer had 7 points in that first half. Along with 3 steals as well. Wide open look for Jackson. Not this time. Rakia 30% from outside the three-point line this season. And LSU will slow it down.
Yeah, I think third quarter for both teams. I know Mississippi State in particular, they emphasized coming off the Mizzou loss. Their third quarter was not one of the best third quarters they had. And so coming out defense.
Pointer with another strong take to the basket. 9 now for the senior from Marietta, Georgia. Steffi mentioned Leah Matharu not getting the second half start. Picked up the 3 fouls in the first half. One of those 3 fouls was a technical foul. Shemaya Mingo-Young on the floor to start the second half as Carter has it high post. And on the reach, a foul called on LSU.
Well, LSU trying to get it started on the defensive end, but this is what they've been looking like on the offensive end. And Kayla Pointer, what she does so well, she gets to the basket, either hand, either side. She's worked really hard, and that's something that Coach Fargus continue to just emphasize how hard Pointer works.
Taylor outside, no. And a foul called on Mingo-Young. You know, another point of emphasis for Nikki Fargas has to be keeping the intensity level up, sustaining what we saw in that second quarter, because Nikki said in the games that they've lost, they've had a bad quarter. It was a 25-8 quarter in the third against Mississippi State. Last week between these two teams, she said in that game gave up too many wide open shots. They have to be focused. 40 minutes of extreme focus and not breaking down and taking care of the basketball.
Yeah, definitely taking care of the basketball, and I would agree with you as far as the focus. But I think that's the game plan for every team, right? You know, one of the things that we used to do is just break down the game. Jemima Mingo-Young with the steal, but Pointer.
Young comes back to knock away. Yeah, no, there's no question. That's the focus for every team. You want to be focused, but for LSU, that's what's held them back. There's been a bad quarter. They had a 5-point quarter in the game against Florida. So that has been one area where you look back at their losses. Oh, yeah, that was the quarter where, you know, you weren't there, and they need to be here if they're going to keep their season going. Afua is going to get called for the foul.
And that's a great drive by Taylor.
Ryan Howard and her Kentucky teammates anxiously waiting in the wings, as Kentucky will be game 2 of our 4-game session here today. They'll take on Florida about 1:30 Eastern time.
And Maya Taylor's struggling from the free throw line now, 1 for 3. An opportunity to get the second one knocked down.
And she has been outstanding. We talked about it before, averaging better than 11 points a game in the SEC this season. Taylor can't get it, but Mingo-Young's got an offensive rebound, and she is fouled. Tripped up by Spencer. It's Spencer, that's 3. And that is on Spencer, and that is number 3.
Well, you got to box out off the free throw line, and Mississippi State does a great job. Mingo-Young getting in and getting that rebound. Raquel Spencer gets called, and you're right, 3rd foul.
Taylor, Cook's trying to post up against Spencer with those 3 fouls. Shot clock at 4. That's why Taylor has to launch from deep. It was halfway down, and Spencer's got a rebound.
And Maya Taylor still struggling to get that jump shot going. But you know what? Honestly, it only takes one possession, one shot going in. Once you see it go in, you can turn some things around.
Taylor gets called for the foul on the block. That's her first. LSU led by 4 at halftime. Their largest lead in the game has been 8. Mississippi State was up 2 at the end of the first quarter. They led by 7 at one point in the first half. So we saw a back and forth game yesterday between Florida and Auburn. Eventually won by Florida by 7, 69-62. We've gone back and forth here. They need to mop up the floor, I think, and Maya Taylor was going to go look for it herself and take things into her own hands, and now she'll just, as a good point guard would, dictate where it should be mopped up. Well done, Maya. Thank you.
Leadership. All about the leadership.
In all areas. Pointer to trigger the inbound for the Tigers. And that's going to be a foul called on Jessica Carter. So Carter picks up her second.
Yeah, and that's not a good foul for Jessica Carter. Mississippi State, they need her to stay on the floor, and ticky-tack fouls like that will cost you down the road if you don't pay attention.
Pointer. Denied by Cooks. Pointer got it back into the hands of Mingo Young.
Nice block. Jessica Carter gets the block on one end, runs the floor, and able to get her feet set. Knock down the shot.
8 points now for Carter. Back to a 4-point LSU lead. Young for Trazi on the turnaround. Yes. First points for Trazi after she missed her first 3 field goal attempts, averaging 8 points a game. Had 12 points, 5 boards in that loss to Mississippi State last week.
You can tell Mississippi State trying to figure out a way to get the ball down low. Jessica Carter just floating around, but gets called. That's her 3rd foul. That's not a good play for Jessica Carter now, getting her 3rd foul called. 2 bad possessions, but here's what she did just a possession ago. Running the floor, getting down, and then Tarazi turn around jump shot over Sydney Cook.
So Carter comes out of the game with the 3rd personal foul. $14 fouls now on Mississippi State this quarter, and good defense. Mingo Young, they'll call the tie-up, and possession arrow will give it to LSU.
Well, Mingo Young and Kayla Pointer, they've been going at it. We
Yeah,
saw right before before we went into halftime. Both of them eyeing each other up and down, so it's going to be interesting. But, you know, I like it. I like the tensions high. I like the way that they're playing. Both of them are aggressive. They both bring a lot to their team, and they know what's at stake. We talked about this. We continue to talk about it. So you got to go. You got to put your heart on the line.
Mingo Young had the blocked shot of the Pointer attempted 3, the final play of the first quarter. Let Kayla know about it. Shamansi, one of those bench players who contributed in the first half. Batted away, and then a foul is called on Young. That'll be the 4th team foul on LSU.
And that's the 3rd for personal foul on Young. Kind of interesting. The ball's flying in the air. Everybody's body's flying, arm flailing, and Young gets called for that foul.
She'll stay in the game for the moment for LSU. Mingo Young left open. First points for Mingo Young, getting minutes, extended minutes here in the second half with Matharu on the bench.
Well, Mingo Young's the player that we've watched the last couple years, and when she gets going, and she's one of those energy players, she can get herself going, but she can get the team going.
You were saying she saved it and she threw it off of LSU, and I don't think she got the call, but I think she's right.
All right, Jemima Mingo Young. Yeah.
That was a great play.
That was.
Mississippi State will get the ball. The initial call was, as you can see, the initial call was not in Jemiah's favor. But the officials talked it over, and it'll be Mississippi State basketball. And Taylor with a path to the basket, but just couldn't finish. You can see Maya with that smile coming up the court. trying to keep that frustration down. 0 for 3 from outside the three-point line, 1 for 6 overall from the field. Well, again, the bench stepping up for LSU. Shamatsi makes her 3rd three-pointer.
Yeah, Shamatsi's just setting up out there. You know, every time she touches the ball, she wants to get that shot up. And it feels good right now.
Zaria Wiggins into the game. Kick to the freshman Hayes in the corner. Rejected by Afua. Scramble for the loose ball. Mingo Young gets on the court. Tie up. Will give the ball to Mississippi State when we come back. So much on the line. Players throwing their bodies on the line. When we come back, Kayla Pointer. We'll talk about her motivation and dedication and inspiration coming up next. Kayla Pointer, the heart and soul of this LSU team, the senior, first team all-conference, all-defensive team member. Of course, it's a family affair for Kayla, playing for her Aunt Nikki Fargas, and also playing in honor of her late father, Kirk, who passed away after a heart attack her freshman year. A tattoo, a ring, the visible reminders of her first and best coach. The way she plays is the best tribute she can make on a daily basis, Steffi Sorensen.
Yeah, guys, the ball was in Kayla Pointer's hands growing up because of her father, Kirk, her longtime coach and her biggest fan. Before she got to LSU, guys, one of her very last conversations with him were goals for her as a freshman, and one of those was to make the all-freshman team. She did that. One of his next goals for her was to make the WNBA. That's a goal that she'd love to make happen, and a big reason why she plays such inspired basketball out there on the floor.
Yeah, that's a great word for it, inspired, because that freshman year when her father passed away, it was right before her first game against USF, and you know, Nikki Fargas took her side after the game. She played hard, she played well, and I think she's been playing with that inspiration, and you see it. She's been an inspirational player for us to watch over these last few years too, Tamika.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen her mature into the point guard that she is, and you know, I think it's great when you look at the goals. And she said that was the freshman making that, but then her goal for being a sophomore, her goal for being a junior and now as a senior and being able to make the all-conference team. Those are goals that she set for herself. The WNBA, of course, is one that is looming in front of her and the one that she's looking at. But I mean, I just think that you watch, and even as Nikki Fargas continues to talk about her, she just said she has just been such an inspiration for me, for my family, and for all of us.
Shot clock violation will give the ball to LSU. I know you had a smile on your face when she said, looking back to where she was, this little freshman learning from the upperclassmen. Now she's that upperclassman that the younger players at LSU are looking from, and it kind of one of those moments where it makes you think back to how far you've come in your 4 years in college.
I mean, Regine Moncrief, you think about
oh, she was dropping the names that she learned from.
Oh my gosh,
class
Chloe
was in
Jackson,
session. Yes.
It's crazy when you look back, and even for us, I mean, we've been doing this, and you get to see players grow, and you watch it, they learn. But yeah, I think for KP, as her nickname KP, she said, now I'm that player that all of our freshmen are. Look at the bench. Kayla Pointer takes it to the basket. This is what it is all about during SEC conference play.
Pointer with the finish and the foul, and the bench wanted to be on the court just to grab her after this play.
Well, I think they were on the court. You look at them over there, I mean, gosh, you got to get fired up when you see that. And I love it, the break off the block shot, just coming. Jemiah Mingo Young doesn't want to get a foul, but takes it in, and she does.
Well, so far, LSU has erased the memories of that bad third quarter in the last meeting between these two teams. LSU has stretched it out now to their largest lead of the game. They're on top by 9, 3.5 to go in the third quarter.
Yeah, you look at LSU and you look at their zone.
Now Carter's back in with the 3 fouls. Cooks, turnaround bank for 2.
Great patience right there by Mississippi State, but you know, you look at LSU's zone, how they space out. They want to force teams to shoot the ball outside, but you got to be patient. You got to take what the defense gives you, and If that's on Mingo Young, that will be her 4th foul.
They're back at it. Mingo Young took it a little too far and right in front of the LSU bench. Some of the LSU players trying to defend Kayla Pointer.
And Maya Taylor doing what she trying to get her team under wrap, trying to get her back under control. Mingo Young fired up.
Maya's doing her best, but she's not very successful at the moment. The best thing to do is to walk her away. So Mingo Young talking, bumping, and then Mingo Young with the point, and then separating. You see a couple of players as Jessica Carter got in there as well. You know, Mingo Young got hit across the top of the head by Pointer. They've had a battle. Nikki Fargas, the first one to separate. You can tell by Nikki's look that Mingo Young was escalating things a little bit, and the bench had to be calmed down. So the officials are having a conversation at midcourt right now. Nikki McCray-Penson trying to get Mingo Young to channel that energy in a positive way. Maya Taylor really was the first one there, but you can see there Mingo Young still very intense. I got you.
Got you. And you just got to calm down. Sometimes the heat of the moment right now, there's plenty of game left. We are only in the 3rd quarter. You still got all 4th quarter, the rest of the 3rd quarter. You've got to calm down. But I think the big thing that I like is how her teammates came, grabbed her, took her to half court. They had the conversation. She goes to the bench. Coach McCray-Penson grabs her, has a conversation with her. You see she calmed down, and now the game goes on.
So they go to the monitor here. They could be looking at a variety of things. Should there have been a foul called? Should there be technical fouls called? Is there anything from the LSU bench stepping forward here? Mingo Young stepping towards the bench?
Well, I think it's both of them. Kayla Pointer stepped to her
see
as well.
Young and the LSU players came in there. Carter and Mingo Young yelling at them, and the coaching staff for LSU knowing that they can't afford any technicals to be called. I think, you know, one early indication from the official there pointing at the bench for LSU, maybe there'll be a technical called on the LSU bench for their involvement here. LSU was stepping back, the bench players there. There's Pointer and Mingo Young. Again, if you're just joining us, those two have had a back and forth since Mingo Young came into the game off the bench in the first half. Mingo Young had a clean, good block shot on a 3-point attempt by Pointer. There was some talking there. It's continued in the second half. Mingo Young has played the entire second half with Aaliyah Matharu on the bench since the second quarter.
Well, I think Mingo Young, some of the frustration too, Kayla Pointer, after she gets that shot blocked just a second ago, Pointer's hand or forearm hit her in the forehead, so that might be some of it, just the frustration. And the referee's doing a great job just trying to make sure that they sort out everything that happened. There's a lot that's in play right now.
Hey, Tamika, come on, you got to admit, you didn't get into it with anyone during the SEC tournament. Come on. Be honest.
Lord knows that was so long ago, Steffi. I don't know what. I'm sure there's all types of things. But I would tell you, as a player, I would get fired up, but I would get fired up more internally than externally.
Yeah.
I mean, I would get, you would see my expression, and of course, my heart was always on my sleeve. But when it comes to playing and talking to other people, I really didn't have time for that. For me, it's about getting the job done, getting the work done, getting the win, getting the championship, and going home.
So I'm trying to read body language here as the two former teammates at Tennessee were a few feet apart there to get the explanation from our officiating crew. Well, on the board right now, they've got Mingo Young fouled out. So it would appear she was given a technical and a personal foul. And that, if confirmed, would be it for Jemiah Mingo Young. She obviously is on the bench right now, but is it for good? We're still awaiting word as they're still talking to the official score and the public address announcer here in the building.
And it looks like also Pointer would have received a technical foul on her end.
All right, so double technical fouls given out, Pointer and Mingo Young. And Jemiah Mingo Young has fouled out.
And I think that's a big loss to Mississippi State. She has been the energy player thus far with Matharu on the bench with the foul. Now you have Jemiah Mingo Young that's fouled out, and just kind of talked about the hustle plays and just the energy and the experience. She's had the experience of playing in the SEC tournament.
Katarian Thompson will come into the game, so Matharu's still on the bench, and Katarian Thompson, the grad transfer from Bowling Green, making her first appearance here in the SEC tournament. Now Mississippi State still has Carter and Jackson, and they can get going, and Thompson's a shooter, and she shows it in her first minute on the floor, knocking down the three.
Well, I love that. You come off the bench and you come in ready. When your number is called, you be ready to play, and Thompson comes in right off the bat, knocks down that shot.
Here's the player who had the hot hand in the first half for LSU and keeps it going here in the third. Ryan Payne puts LSU on top by 7. 14 now for Payne. Cooks. You can see this LSU zone just continuing to push Mississippi State out. And deflected out of play by Payne, so it will be Mississippi State ball with 10 to shoot.
Well, Mississippi State, they need their players to spread out a little bit. You got shooters that are out there. Get your shooters outside. Give Jessica Carter some room to work, but everybody's on top of her, so it's making it hard. You think she's open, but she's not because people are sagging off of her.
LSU playing with the lead and a chance for their defense to do their thing, and they get another stop. Afua with the block. Payne with the handle. And then with a smart play to circle it back out. Shimati, can she do it again? Nope.
But Afua
on the offensive glass, and she's fouled and will go to the free throw line. Carter picks up the foul. That is her 4th personal foul. So the foul's a critical situation for the Bulldogs right now, with Mingo Young done and Carter now with 4.
Yeah, and Jessica Carter, I mean, this goes to the foul that she got earlier this quarter on Afua outside the three-point line. Those fouls will come back to haunt you. She gets that one, then gets the one right after that on the other end. So fouls are important in this game, but I think when we talked about it in the beginning, Jessica Carter, her presence on the floor, Rakia Jackson, her presence on the floor, Matharu, who's been a player that Mississippi State has relied on a little bit to get jump shot. All 3 of them now, well, Rakia's still on the floor, but you've got to figure out a way. Mississippi State has got to figure out a way to get them the ball. And there get Rakia Jackson.
Jackson and Morris will earn a trip to the free throw line.
Maya Morris has been big thus far. I mean, she's got 4 points right now, 2 for 2, 2 rebounds. That offensive rebound, start picking away, 1 offensive rebound at a time.
Five points now for Morris off the bench. Yamaya, senior in her 2nd year with Mississippi State.
Well, speaking of bench points, you got LSU with 25 bench points. You got Mississippi State with 15.
Hayes fighting for the rebound. It was knocked out of play. Last touch by LSU. Well, Mississippi State had a couple of key baskets at the end of the 2nd quarter to keep it tight at halftime, a 4-point game, and maybe heating up a little bit at the end of the 3rd quarter as Jackson hits.
Yeah, I like that play for Rakia Jackson. Get her out in the open floor on a one-on-one.
Well, Shimati was calling for it. She knocked it down. Her 4th 3-pointer for LSU. 12 points for Shimati, a player who's averaging a little over 2 points a game in 10 minutes a game.
Shimati's been so impressive.
All batted around, then knocked out of play by Thompson. Turnover for Mississippi State. So Rickea Jackson, a dynamic player, is going to have to do it herself, it feels like right now, if Mississippi State's going to win this game.
Well, I would agree with you, Eric. Rickea Jackson, they got to get going, but somebody on the defensive end has got to guard Shamatsi from the Mississippi State bench. Shamatsi playing so well, 4 3-pointers, and they basically have been wide open threes.
28 points for the LSU bench of their 51. And Sarah Shamatsi, who's 3 shy of her career high, who did not score in only 5 minutes against Mississippi State in the last meeting, has delivered, and she's just ready to shoot in that corner.
Hands up.
Like it is go zone right now for me, and a foul called on Mississippi State, and a couple of free throws coming up for LSU. Now, one thing to keep in mind here, if this stays tight late, LSU is not a great free throw shooting team, 65%. They are second to last in the league. Mississippi State is last in the league, but LSU will be on the free throw line here to shoot a couple. With Pointer.
Well, LSU right now 12 for 18, now 13 for 19, so not shooting too bad tonight, but I have this frustration already about free throws. I just look at free throws as 3 points. 3 points, F-R-E-E points. So it's hard when you look at teams that aren't shooting the ball very well from the free throw line. Practice. And Shamatsi will take a break and I'm sure get ready for the fourth quarter along with Kayla Pointer.
Now LSU brings in a couple of fresh bodies to try to make Mississippi State really work on defense here, and Taylor's got her hands full. Breaks the pressure, can't get it. Morris can't get the putback, and a rebound for Petty.
And Morris working down low on that offensive rebounds.
Here's Payne, down to 5 seconds. Payne, not this time, and that will do it for the quarter. The LSU Tigers will take a 10-point lead to the fourth quarter, trying to set up a rematch with Texas A&M, the only team that Texas A&M has lost to this year, but 10 long minutes to go through first for the Tigers. Can Mississippi State come back and advance to the next round? We'll find out next. We knew the intensity would be dialed up in this 8-9 matchup between two teams fighting for a spot in the next round of the SEC tournament. As we talked to Charlie Cream earlier, he thinks Mississippi State is in the tournament no matter what happens here today. LSU is not. They need to win, and they may need to win another game. So Kayla Pointer has brought the intensity, brought the energy, and it has been a battle with Jemiah Mingo Young from the first half. This is when it really boiled over, the defensive play by Mingo Young. She got called for the foul. They were talking. Mingo Young took it another level. The bench for LSU stepped in. Mingo Young picked up a foul and a technical foul. That fouled her out of the game. Pointer picked up a technical and a personal foul. Mingo Young was hot. Maya Taylor tried to calm her down. Jessica Carter tried to calm her down, but Mingo Young was done for the day. So one of the emotional leaders, one of the most intense players from Mississippi State, done for the day in the third quarter. Can Mississippi State summon up that energy, come back, and get a victory to advance on to the next round of the SEC tournament? That's the big question right now.
Well, I think, Eric, yes, they can. And when you look at both teams, you look at LSU right now, their bench has come in 28 out of LSU, 53 points. Mississippi State, they're getting production as well, 15 out of the 43. Other players have to step up. So Thompson comes in the game, knocks down a three-pointer right off the bat. Other players are going to have to step up. Rickea Jackson, Jessica Carter sitting on the bench before with 4 fouls. Rickea Jackson on the floor. Yamiah Morris has been going to work down low, but I just say Madison Hayes, one of our freshmen that we've been watching all year, other players are going to have to step up for Mississippi State to win.
Jalen Cherry into the game because the bench has been so effective. Cherry, who was coming off the bench earlier this season, been a starter lately. Now in here in the fourth. Could have been a travel, wasn't called. That won't drop in for Trazi, and the rebound for Mississippi State.
I think it's just really important. 10 minutes, you got 9.5 minutes right now. It's a long time, and you only have to make up 10 points right now, of course. We've seen battles yesterday's game. We saw battles left and right. So I think anything is possible.
Madison Hayes and a reach-in foul called on Trazi. So Mississippi State is without Jemiah Mingo-Young. She started the second half in place of Aaliyah Matharu, who had picked up a technical foul in the first half. So Matharu hasn't played since halftime. I have not seen her. I'll double check the stats, but I haven't seen her come into the game. So a couple of the key rotational pieces, those guards not in the game. Jackson on the turnaround can't get it, Tamika.
Yeah, Mississippi State, and then Jessica Carter, with her not being on the floor, she just gives you a low post presence. Not that the other post players don't, but I think it's just a different psyche when you have your starters, when you have your players out there.
Carter with 4 fouls, and Shamatzi playing with a ton of confidence will earn a trip to the free throw line.
And I think that's been the difference for LSU. Their bench has come in, and the confidence that they have in one another, you can tell that they believe in each other. You can see at the offense, as the ball moves, every single player that touches the ball knows their role. They know what they're supposed to do. They're stepping up, they're knocking down big shots. We're used to seeing Kayla Pointer go off. We're used to seeing the things that even Austin Afua can do down low, but other players that we're not used to seeing are stepping up as Shamatzi hits her first free throw.
I'll tell you the difference that Shamatzi has been in this game. Those were her first 2 free throw attempts this season, and they come here in the SEC tournament.
What a story for Shamatzi, and Maya Taylor able to get her first basket, her first field goal.
First points of the second half for Taylor, now with 5. Came in averaging just under 10 points a game. Cherry. Pointer can't get it. Not done yet. Kayla Pointer is definitely not the tallest player on the floor, but she just played like it under the basket, and a second chance here for LSU. Pointer defended by Taylor, and an offensive foul called on Kayla Pointer. Well, everybody's got their challenges, and Carly C., the degree of difficulty was very high for her because she didn't have one white shoe and one pink shoe. She just had one pink shoe. And apparently the Zamboni had just come out and resurfaced the court to make it extra slipperier for Carly. Where's my shoe?
Well, she got it back on just in time.
Yeah, right in the flow of things. That was pretty impressive. Carly's just making a mental note. Oh, yeah, don't cut if I'm down a shoe. So Pointer now with 3 personal fouls. Taylor tries to drive on Cherry. Throws up kind of a half hook that goes down. 7 points now for Taylor.
Well, that's great to see somebody else stepping up. Said Rickea Jackson, you got other players that are trying, but I think, you got to have at least 2 of them. So Maya Taylor stepping up in this moment is big.
Afua, a good dish down to C, who couldn't get the basket, but she'll head to the free throw line to shoot a couple. Steffi Sorensen.
Yeah, Tamika, that's a great point with Maya Taylor being aggressive, and I think that's why we're seeing Carter and Jackson having a hard time getting some of their offense going. Listen, Mississippi State is one of the better three-point shooting teams in this league, 2 for 9 on the day, so I think we got to see perimeter players looking to score right now. Madison Hayes, Maya Taylor, they're just kind of dribbling around. They need to start looking for shots.
I would agree, Steffi. Get to the basket or get outside and get those shots going. You see Mississippi State or LSU has really done a good job of clogging the paint. They've clogged the paint. They're trying to force Mississippi State to shoot shots. But Mississippi State is not looking. They're trying to figure out ways to get to the basket and create those opportunities.
Carly C. adds 2 more points to the bench total, now at 31 and counting, matching their best performance this season. Jackson leads in, won't drop, but a foul called on C, and a couple of free throws coming for Rickea Jackson.
And that's when you look at the spacing for Mississippi State. They spaced out, made LSU spread out enough for Rickea Jackson to get right in the middle of the zone defense, and they better get that drive.
So Rickea Jackson 53% from the free throw line this season. Well, Kentucky Wildcats, there you see Ryan Howard, the two-time SEC Player of the Year, stepping into the locker room to get ready. They will be on the court when this game ends. Tip time right around 1:30 Eastern time. 25 minutes after the conclusion of this game.
And look at the free throws right there, Eric. 24 free throws, 17 for 24 for LSU compared to Mississippi 6 for 11. And I think that definitely goes with the intensity, the focus, the drive to take the ball and get it into the paint.
Faustina Fua heard you. She had the focus and intensity to get the putback in the paint. She didn't have to drive it, but that's how she gets her hoops. Averaging 11 points and 9 rebounds a game. LSU back on top by 10. They continue to keep Mississippi State at arm's length. Carter into double figures now with 10.
Well, that started with Maya Taylor attacking the basket, forcing the defense to have to step up and have to. She had 2 defenders come at her.
Payne. Right now LSU buying Kayla Pointer a few minutes rest. Payne delivers again. The bench continues to be the difference in this matchup. 17 points now for Payne, and Taylor takes off down the court and answers back for the Bulldogs. Timeout called with 5:42 to go in the fourth quarter. LSU with a 9-point lead, and the bench getting it done, and the veterans like a Fua with the putback. But how about the play of Ryan Payne? 17 points, 5 of 6 shooting. LSU up in the fourth.
Do anything I wanna do is true.
Critical game for the LSU Tigers, according to our bracketologist Charlie Cream, outside of the NCAA tournament field. They definitely need a win here today to keep their NCAA hopes alive, and their bench has stepped up to complement what this senior group starting has done for LSU today. Tamika Catchings.
Yes, Eric, 34 bench points, but I would say the 2 players that have stepped up and that have showed us what they have. Shamachi sitting with 13 points, 4 for 6 from the field, and of course you can't have Shamachi without Bring the Pain. And we have seen the Pain tonight, 17 points right now, to 5 for 6. 2 for 2 from the 3, but Shamachi, I mean, we should go back 4 for 6 from the 3-point line.
LSU with a 5-game losing streak entering this tournament. That's what's taken them out of NCAA contention for the moment. Their last win was an overtime win over Ole Miss at home January 31st. Carly C's 4-point play late in regulation. Wild finish in that game. So this LSU team didn't win in the month of February, which took Nikki Fargas back a little bit because we know how good LSU has been since she's been there. They come out of the timeout, they draw up a beautiful play, and they extend the lead back to double figures, on top now by 11 in the fourth.
Yeah, that was crazy how they just broke the play, broke that zone. I mean, that defense was set up.
Pointer back into the game. Afua fights her off for the rebound, and LSU will walk it up.
You know, you think about LSU. LSU had not played since last Thursday, so they had a couple days break. Then they came back, they practiced for a couple days. Then they had another day off, and then started getting prepared for the SEC conference. So in hindsight, when you look back, them not being able to play against Vanderbilt is one of those. So we got Kayla Pointer going to, or Young going to the free throw line, gets fouled, and we'll come back. LSU on top, 63-52.
This game is over. We'll get you ready for Kentucky, Florida. Plus, we're going to catch up with Georgia head coach Joni Taylor, Coach, SEC Coach of the Year.
Oh, I'm anxious to talk to Miss Taylor.
We have a lot of questions for her. That's after the game, guys.
All right, and then after you're done, Alyssa, Florida will be on the court trying to follow up their thriller against Auburn yesterday. So Florida will take on Kentucky about 1:30 Eastern time here on the SEC Network. And then later on, Alabama, Missouri in game 1, Arkansas and Ole Miss in game 2. Courtney Lyle and Carolyn Peck doing their homework, getting ready to come out here to take care of the night session with the big quarterfinal day tomorrow. The 4 top seeds getting the double bye, led by Texas A&M, the regular season champions in the SEC. (63-52) LSU. Mississippi State, according to Charlie Cream, who joined us at the start of the second quarter, he thinks they're in the tournament. With a loss here today, they would slide down to a 10. Now, that isn't very comfortable positioning, though, as a 10 seed when you are unable to play any more games.
Right.
So there's no guarantee that they're in the field here. Right now they are, but things could happen in other conference tournaments, including this one, that could displace them.
I think that's big, too, Eric.
Sure.
You put the hit on that point, but being able to control your own destiny, and, you know, Charlie Cream talked, you win games, you put yourself in a position, in a better position, the more games you win. I think with Mississippi State, you've relaxed a little bit. So even though you're in the tournament, now you're relying on other teams that have to get beat or other teams winning games. So it's a difficult situation to be in, but you know, you can only control the controllable. That's what I've always heard.
Tierra Young at the free throw line. Well, it's just interesting to watch this Mississippi State team with some familiar faces and names that played in last year's championship game, won by South Carolina. Maya Taylor with the basketball right now was a freshman on that team that won the championship 2 years ago. Mississippi State's been to the SEC title game the last 5 years. It's going to take a huge fourth quarter comeback here for Taylor and her teammates to get it done, and that's a start as she knocks down the 3.
Well, Maya Taylor knows what it takes to win games. You said she's been in this building before. She's been in on the stage before to win a championship. So coming out, being able to knock down shots, she's the one, when you saw Mingo Young go crazy a little bit earlier, she's the one that grabbed her teammate. She's the one that grabbed the team, brought everybody into a huddle. So the leadership is definitely there.
Taylor saved it to Afua. When you're hot right now for LSU, because looked like it was going to be a turnover. It was a desperate save back into play, and you throw it up to the 6'5" teammate who grabs it and puts it in for 2 more. And now a turnover for Mississippi State, and it is slipping away from the Bulldogs right now.
Well, that pass right there just looked like Rakia and Jessica not on the same page.
Inside of 4 minutes to play here in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we've watched Mississippi State this season, and there have been times when you can tell they have the chemistry, they have the flow. They haven't played as many games. They've only played 18 games, and you know, trying to adjust to a new coach, trying to adjust to a new system, that does come into play. And then on top of that, you look at COVID and just all of the different things, all of the changes that I know every team has had to deal with. But I think when you look at just, you go back and talk about Mississippi State and them being in the situation and having been here before, there's been a lot of changes. That sometimes change is good, but it's always an adjustment period.
Foul on Hayes, her 3rd personal, and LSU will continue to milk the clock here a little bit. Unless Ryan Payne sees an opening and tries to take it but couldn't score. And here comes Mississippi State. Taylor, you can just tell right now, Taylor is going to play right to the final horn. That's what she does, and she's trying to keep her team engaged and in this game right now.
Well, she's the Energizer Bunny right now. You see she looked up the court vision. She already sees where she's going, able to get Pointer to step up. Madison Hayes for the 2. That's a great setup.
Young now with 4 personal fouls as the freshman Hayes goes to the line. First points of the second half for Hayes. Member of the SEC all-freshman team. Mississippi State will bring the pressure. Pointer has help with Payne. And now LSU will slow things down inside of 3 minutes to go here in the fourth. Payne. Three is well off the mark. I don't think it caught the rim, so something's got to happen here quickly for Pointer. That caught the rim. Battle for the loose ball. Saved again by LSU. We've seen that a couple of times here in the fourth quarter.
Well, it's the hustle play. The play does not stop until the ball goes through the net or the ball goes out of bounds. And that play and that hustle play lead to Trazi hitting another jump shot.
We saw it twice. Trazi with that second chance. Afua on the save earlier. Jackson is fouled by Trazi. I think the thing that Nikki Fargas will love about this game is that they've played 4 full quarters here today. That's something that has been lacking for them, but that third quarter was key, where they outscored Mississippi State 20-14. Now 2-12 away from advancing on and keeping Caleb Pointer's season going.
And Makia Jackson knocked down the free throw. And you know, you look at how much time is left. There's 2 minutes and 12 seconds. And I always say that when you have the three-pointers in the game, anything is possible. So there's still some game to be played. And I know for Mississippi State, you look at Maya Taylor, she is not going to let this team go down without a fight.
Pointer will bring it inside of 2 minutes to play in the fourth. And they will clear things out for Kayla. Guarded by the freshman Hayes. Taylor's ready to bring help. Pointer found her teammate, but she traveled. 1:46 to go, turnover by Payne.
Yeah, you got to be ready to shoot. Pointer does a great job of a setup, catch and shoot.
Taylor had the path of the basket, but couldn't finish. That could have made things a little bit more interesting. And now as we approach 90 seconds to go, LSU has it across half court. No need to shoot too quickly here for the Tigers. Nikki Fargas kind of directing traffic a little bit. They'll shoot if they have an open look, though.
And Mississippi State still trying to find it. The turnover.
But there's Pointer reading it with the steal, and that should spark the celebration on that LSU bench. Reserved for the moment, but they'll escalate it here in the final minute. Now up by 13. Carter, and a foul called on Afua.
No, that's the look they've been trying to get all night, is trying to find a one-on-one possession with Jessica Carter down low.
Vicky McCray-Penson will get Thompson to the scorer's table, bring a shooter into the game here. LSU will bring freshman Treasure Thompson into the game. And that will be it for Faustine Afua for the day, as she heads to the bench. 9 points, 12 rebounds.
Well, Faustine Afua, her presence down low, she was just big today. You know, you don't look at it and you don't think about the points she scored. She said 9 points, but I think just her presence, she brings a comfort to the team, and they play really well with her on the floor.
A timeout called by LSU with 49 seconds to go in an 11-point game, as Nikki Fargas wants to get some more players into the game. She's got Dominique Davis ready to come in. We already talked about the freshman Thompson. So why not get some more bench players involved, even if it's in the final minute, because the bench, the difference in this game for LSU this afternoon.
Well, 34 out of the 71 LSU points, and they have been phenomenal. But when you look at players that have to step up, you already know you rely on your starters a lot. But when the bench comes in, Shamachi knocks it down. She's 13 points, 4 for 6 from the three-point line. Of course, Payne, we said it before, just what she's been able to do, 17 points, 2 for 2 from the three. Absolutely amazing. And then you got other players that have come in and they filled in the spots that those two haven't. So it's been a lot of fun to watch. These players, definitely young players that we'll get to see for a few years.
They'll keep Pointer on the court here for this final minute. A couple young players on the floor, and she'll continue to work the clock. You feel like LSU's just not comfortable right yet to celebrate, but with 9 on the shot clock, Pointer will go to work.
Well, I think this is just one of their goals. One of their goals is to win this game. Then obviously that's not the grand finale. So I think when you look at celebration, it really is one game at a time, coming out and taking care of business every single game.
Thrown inside to Carter for what should be the game's final basket. LSU will put it into play, and now they're up on their feet on the bench. The LSU Tigers. Nikki Fargas acknowledging her former teammate at Tennessee, Nikki McCray-Penson. The 5-game losing streak is over. The season continues certainly for LSU as they will take on Texas A&M tomorrow.